What's up, guys? Happy Wednesday, or whatever day it is that you happen to be listening. Welcome back to the Attachment Confessions. My name is Chelsea, and I am super excited that you're here with me today for episode 18. Guys, that is wild to me. I actually can't believe we've made it to 18 episodes already. Our baby podcast is now a legal adult. Insert proud, teary eyed emoji. In case this is your first time tuning in, let me fill you in on what the Attachment Confessions is all about. From the moment I discovered attachment science, everything about every relationship I had ever been in finally made sense. And now I'm figuring out what it takes to earn my attachment security and have the best possible relationships from now on. Here on the Attachment Confessions, we'll be diving into all things attachment science while you guys tag along on my attachment healing adventure. My hope is that by bringing attachment science to those of you who have never heard of it before, and by sharing my own story, you'll also be inspired to set out on your own attachment healing journey. All right, first things first. If you guys could hit the follow or subscribe button, as well as leave a rating and review if you're loving what you're hearing here on the Attachment Confessions, it makes a huge difference in pushing the podcast up in the algorithms. So please take a sec to go do that. Okay, guys, Valentine's Day is 3 days away. You're welcome for your reminder, okay? Go get your card, your candy, flowers, stuffed animals, whatever, while you still have time. In the spirit of Valentine's Day, and also in the spirit of addressing some questions I've gotten over the last several months from a few listeners, today we're going to dive into a topic that gives us all the feels: love languages. Specifically, how love languages play into our attachment styles. Now, for those of you who aren't super familiar, the love languages is a concept that was introduced by Dr. Gary Chapman in 1992 through his book, The Five Love Languages: How to Express Heartfelt Commitment to Your Mate. The subtitle was revised in 2010 to The Secret to Love That Lasts. Dr. Chapman's book has sold over 20 million copies worldwide and is a #1 New York Times bestseller. So, needless to say, this concept has been paramount in the way that millions of people understand love. Dr. Chapman started out as a Baptist minister, and he developed the love languages framework after observing recurring patterns in the couples he had been counseling at his church for over 30 years. He noticed that partners often complained about not feeling loved despite their spouse's efforts, which led him to conclude that people have different ways of receiving and expressing love and affection. Dr. Chapman drew upon his PhD level academic training in anthropology and linguistics and paired that with his 3 decades of couples counseling experience to categorize the patterns he observed into 5 distinct love languages, which are words of affirmation, acts of service, gifts, quality time, and physical touch. Although each love language seems self explanatory, let's break down each one a bit to really get a good understanding of them. First, we have words of affirmation. Words of affirmation are verbal or written expressions of love. So anything along the lines of compliments, gratitude, and encouraging words. Affectionate phrases like, I love you, or I appreciate you, or you mean everything to me, can have a deep impact on those who value verbal expressions of love, including love letters, meaningful cards, or sweet little messages left on sticky notes. This love language has the ability to strengthen bonds, reinforce love, and boost confidence in the relationship. Next, we have acts of service. Acts of service is when we do helpful or thoughtful tasks for our partner, be it big or small. This could be taking care of or being attentive to our partners when they're sick, making them their favorite coffee each morning, or handling chores for them. Those that have acts of service high up on their list of love languages see this as their partner's tangible effort to willingly invest in the relationship by being of service to their partner. It makes them feel as though their partner truly cares for them by taking care of them in this way. Next up, we have gifts. Now, a lot of people hear this one and think, wow, they must be a gold digger. But this love language isn't about materialism. It's about the meaning behind the gift, a tangible token of affection, if you will. Receiving gifts is all about feeling loved through thoughtful and meaningful presence, where the gift symbolizes the care and effort put into it. A well chosen, personalized present, no matter how big or small, makes the person whose primary love language is gifts feel loved and special because it shows their partner was thinking of them. Next is quality time. Quality time is all about giving your partner your focused, undivided attention, free from distractions. Now, hear me carefully, guys, okay? Quality time is not sitting on the couch next to each other watching Netflix, okay? The key word here is quality. So think of things like meaningful, deep conversations, shared activities or experiences, and one on one dates that connect one another. Quality time helps strengthen emotional bonds through spending meaningful time together, which helps bring individuals that have quality time high on their list of preferred love languages closer together. And last, but certainly not least, we have physical touch. Now, a lot of people hear this one and their one track mind automatically goes to one thing: sex. However, physical touch in this sense doesn't mean hitting a home run. In terms of love languages, physical touch means expressing love through appropriate physical contact, such as hugs, kisses, or cuddling. It's being touchy-feely, but not necessarily in the wow, okay, guys, get a room, will ya type of way. Physical expressions of love, like holding hands, often creates a deep emotional and physiological connection. These acts can help spark that warm and fuzzy feeling and offer reassurance and a sense of security to a partner whose primary love language is physical touch. All right, now that we're all on the same page of what each love language encompasses, how exactly do these love languages impact our relationships? Well, when couples not only know and respect each other's love language, but they also want to speak their partner's love language to them, that shows the intention they have for meeting their partner's emotional needs. This can create major positive outcomes because it reduces miscommunication and frustration when love is expressed in the way that resonates with both partners. It also helps build emotional safety, trust, and long term relationship satisfaction. This all sounds awesome, right? And it is, for sure. But knowing and speaking your partner's love language is just one piece. The other, more crucial piece, knowing and understanding your partner's attachment style. But Chels, why is attachment style the more crucial element in effectively showing love to your partner? If you know their love language, shouldn't you be good to go? So, the reason why understanding attachment is the more critical piece to all of this is because our attachment style is the foundation that our love languages are based off of. Love languages are preferences based on needs, and our needs are formed from our attachment styles. Our needs will impact how we naturally give and receive love. Remember, attachment styles are rooted in childhood experiences that influence behavior and emotional security in our adult romantic relationships. And it's our attachment style that actually shapes our preferred love language, not the other way around. If you've been an avid listener of the Attachment Confessions, or if you're already familiar with attachment theory, you know that there are four attachments: one secure attachment and three insecure attachments, which are anxious preoccupied, dismissive avoidant, and fearful avoidant. Let's do a quick recap. Securely attached individuals had consistent, responsive, and emotionally attuning parents throughout childhood. This fostered security and confidence in their emotions, which is why they're able to develop healthier connection patterns with others. Anxious preoccupieds experienced inconsistency from their parents. Sometimes they were distant or neglectful, other times they were nurturing and attuning to their child's emotions. In essence, love for them is unpredictable. Because the anxious preoccupied, or AP for short, never knew if their emotional needs were going to be met or not at any given moment, This created anxiety around emotional intimacy and a deep fear of abandonment, which is why those with anxious attachments crave reassurance and validation in their romantic relationships. This often causes them to appear clingy and overly needy. Dismissive avoidance could not be more different from anxious preoccupieds. Attachment is on a spectrum. Anxious preoccupieds are on one end, while dismissive avoidance are on the polar opposite end. DAs experience consistent emotional neglect in childhood, a total lack of emotional attunement. Dismissive avoidance parents are emotionally distant, dismissive of their children's emotional experiences, and often encourage premature independence. This is what goes on to create the DA's tendency to value independence and autonomy over closeness with their romantic partners. They're wired to believe that sharing emotional intimacy is a major no no, and therefore they're extremely uncomfortable opening up or connecting on an emotional level with their partners, because doing so leads to rejection or neglect. Or at least, that's what their nervous system has been wired to believe. Distancing themselves emotionally is their way of maintaining a sense of control. And lastly, we have fearful avoidance, which are the most complex of all attachment styles because they oscillate between anxious and avoidant. Fearful avoidance experienced trauma in their childhoods from one or both of their parents, which caused them to view love as both a source of comfort as well as a source of pain. Because of this, they're unpredictable in romantic relationships. One minute craving closeness, the next minute pushing their partner away. They often have major trust issues, and although they're highly passionate individuals, their passion can be a double edged sword. They lean opposite of their romantic partner's attachment style. So, for instance, if they're in a relationship with an anxious preoccupied, they're going to lean into their avoidant attachment. If they're dating a dismissive avoidant, this is going to cause the anxious side of their attachment to come out. In case you're new to the attachment confessions, I'm a healing fearful avoidant, and boy oh boy has it been exhausting being an FA. Hence why I'm on this healing journey towards secure attachment. All right, now that we've recapped the 4 attachment styles, let's now take a look at how each attachment shapes our love languages. We'll start with our friends who we're super jealous of that are securely attached. Secure individuals are pretty balanced and generally comfortable with both closeness and independence. They value both. Because of this, they're able to give and receive all types of love languages. Since they feel confident in their relationships, they're more likely to express love in a balanced and consistent manner. They don't focus on 1 or 2 types of love languages, they generally flow rather well among all 5. They may have preferences or more natural inclinations, but they won't claim to feel unloved by their partner for expressing 1 or 2 love languages to them more frequently than the others, per se. Anxious preoccupieds and fearful avoidance that lean anxious trend toward more intimate love languages. They are very physically affectionate, cuddly, touchy feely, and verbally affectionate. Since their primary needs in relationships are reassurance and validation, they prioritize closeness. So, physical touch, quality time, and words of affirmation are typically the love languages preferred by APs and FAs that lean anxious. They're highly vulnerable individuals, and the way they give and receive love exposes their vulnerability towards their partner. They're often the attachment style that is not afraid of PDA. In fact, they're all about it. Nothing says I love you to those with an anxious attachment like public displays of affection. This makes them feel close to their partner and deeply wanted. It gives them the feeling that their partner is certain about the relationship if they're going to go out of their way to display their affection in front of the world. Spending quality time with their partner is huge too, because giving undivided attention and being prioritized in this manner also helps them feel confident and reassured in the relationship. Now, in the same way that dismissive avoidants are on the totally opposite end of the attachment spectrum than our anxious preoccupieds, their preferred love languages typically couldn't be more opposite either. While those with anxious attachments are all about the vulnerable love languages, dismissive avoidance and fearful avoidance that lean avoidant definitely are not. They trend toward love languages that allow for independence while still showing their partner that they care about them. So, acts of service and gifts tend to be their preferred love languages. Remember, as children, those that developed avoidant attachments didn't receive emotional attunement from their parents, but they were praised when they were achieving something or showing responsibility. That's why acts of service and gifts typically come naturally to DAs or FAs that lean avoidant. And this is also how they would prefer to receive love from their partners as well. The less lovey dovey, mushy displays of affection, the better. They feel loved and deeply connected to their partner when they have their needs met of independence and autonomy, as well as when they're being appreciated, acknowledged, understood, accepted, and supported. As for my fellow fearful avoidants, just like our complexity and unpredictability of oscillating across both ends of the attachment spectrum, we like to be super extra by our unpredictability with our preferred love languages as well. You'll notice I already talked about fearful avoidance love languages. It just depends on which side of their attachment they happen to be leaning, depending on the attachment style of the partner that they're with at the time. To make a complicated attachment style uncomplicated, we're fans of all the love languages. But depending on how our partner leans, that will determine which love languages we prefer at that given moment. So spicy, I know. It's honestly wild because when I look back on my two most prominent relationships, it's so crystal clear. When I was dating a fellow fearful avoidant who leaned heavy on the anxious side, I leaned into my avoidance side. I was actually in that relationship when I learned about the five love languages. I read the book, took the quiz, and guess what my results were? My preferred love language was acts of service. This is because my partner showered me with words of affirmation, physical closeness, and quality time. However, since I was actively leaning into my avoidant side, the love languages he was showering me with were actually quite suffocating feeling. We also tend to give love the way that we prefer to receive it because this is what comes naturally to us. Since I preferred acts of service, that was my natural way of showing love to him. The complaint he often had of me is that I didn't give him enough words of affirmation or the physical closeness that he desired, which constantly caused him to question me if I loved him, which was super annoying to me. Now, there were other factors in that relationship that deterred me from being inclined to show love in those ways, but we won't get into that. Bottom line, my preferred love language in that relationship, due to the dynamics of our attachments, was acts of service. Now, fast forward to my next relationship. This time, I was with a dismissive avoidant. So, as the relationship progressed and the honeymoon phase fizzled out, I switched into the anxious side of my fearful avoidant attachment, which was an entirely new feeling for me and not fun at all. Since he was a DA, he was great at giving me the love language I was looking for all along in my previous relationship, acts of service. He was also a great gift giver, so bonus points there. I was finally dating someone that spoke my love language. Yay! Zero complaints from Chelsea now, right? Wrong. Since I was now leaning into my anxious side, I craved the emotionally vulnerable aspects I was being deprived of that I literally couldn't stand from my previous partner. Again, you guys, being a fearful avoidant is exhausting. We're never satisfied. But again, an FA's needs are so complex that, of course, that's going to play into our love languages as well. Remember, fearful avoidance' primary need in a relationship is to feel seen, heard, and understood. So, having a deep, meaningful relationship, growing with our partner, feeling wanted and connected, and being made a priority are all ways that our primary need is met. But also, since we operate along both sides of the attachment spectrum, we also want to remain feeling autonomous and independent. We value vulnerability, transparency, and openness. This is why understanding our own attachment styles and our partner's attachment styles, rather than simply focusing on love languages alone, is so crucial. It is our needs that impact how we naturally give and receive love, and our needs are based on our attachment styles. A quote I came across recently said, "Love your partner in a way that makes sense to them, not just the way that feels natural to you." This really resonated with me because love is a partnership. It's not all about you or all about me. Both parties matter, and both deserve to be shown love in the way that makes sense to them. If you're a dismissive avoidant and you know you're dating someone who has an anxious attachment, then you know that their love languages are opposite of yours and vice versa. But you are choosing to date them. So therefore, you should love and respect them enough to show them you love them in ways that you know will speak to their love languages. Don't deprive them. Otherwise, you should probably do them and yourself a favor and be with someone else. And vice versa. If you lean anxious and your avoidant partner tends to shut down because of the emotional vulnerability you crave in your relationship, learn to love them in the way that feels good to them. If both parties try to love their partner the way that feels good to their partner, you'll both end up getting the type of love you want. It's a win win situation. Understanding your partner's attachment style and love languages is an absolute game changer for relationships. When you learn to understand and use both love languages and attachment styles together, you're able to build a stronger relationship as you both strive to meet each other's needs. Don't get it twisted. It will require lots of understanding, patience, and open communication. But all three of those things are vital in any healthy, successful relationship anyway. Love languages all boil down to one thing: intentionality. When we're intentional about the way we show up in our relationships and how we love our partners, the likelihood of having a successful relationship skyrockets. And when both parties are all in on each other, the feeling of knowing you have a 100% ride or die till the end is seriously like nothing else. Love is truly a gift from God, so treat your partner as such. Speaking in their love language is the best way to show them that you treasure them. A fun, bond building activity I highly recommend you do with your partner is to check out Dr. Gary Chapman's 5 Love Languages. You can take an online quiz, so I'll put a link to the quiz in the show notes. Or if you're single and not sure what your love language might be, I encourage you to take it for yourself. Remember, you guys, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. So I hope that this convo on love languages can help you understand how to love your partner better. And regardless of your relationship status, I hope you all have a wonderful Valentine's Day. This is actually the first Valentine's Day in 12 years that I'll be single, which is bananas. But honestly, I'm not tripping about it. This season of singleness has been really eye opening and transformative for me. There are definitely pros and cons of being single, as well as pros and cons of being in a relationship. So I'm spending this season soaking up all the pros of my singleness because it might not last forever. God, I hope it doesn't last forever. But anywho, happy Valentine's Day to all of you out there, and I'll see you back here on the Attachment Confessions in 2 weeks. As always, if you think this episode could help anyone that you know and love, please share it. Thank you guys so much for tuning in and being part of the Attachment Confessions fam. Love you guys. Bye.